Hey guys, welcome back to another ESO build guide. I'm Dying Legacy and this is the Scalebreaker build, a stamina Dragonknight for solo content, freshly updated for patch 35. Packing strong damage, AoE and survivability, this Dragonknight takes full advantage of its long duration damage over time effects and tanking strengths to pull you by the neck and drag you through veteran dungeons and arenas. This is a quick build guide. We'll be going over the race, attributes, Mundus stones, food, potions, gear, skills, passives and champion point slottables. The info will be minimal, so I'll only be going over what's necessary. However, do feel free to comment below if you have any questions, need a hand, or if there's anything I could do better. With the intro covered, let's go over the Scalebreaker build. Starting with the race, it doesn't really matter what you use, it's an RPG after all and you play as you prefer. But if you're looking for suggestions, I would recommend either the Red Guard if you're looking for more sustain, the Khajiit for extra critical damage, or an Orc for extra weapon damage. For the attributes, we're putting 64 points into stamina, and for our Mundus stone, when we're doing solo content, we're going to take the Lover's Mundus stone for extra spell and physical penetration. When doing content as part of a group, we'll be taking the Thief Mundus stone for extra critical rating. For our food, we are taking the Artaeum Takeaway Broth to increase our health recovery, max stamina and stamina recovery. You can pick these up at a guild vendor or make it yourself if you have the recipe. This can be rather expensive to get your hands on, in which case the cheaper option is the dubious Cameronian Throne. The stats are slightly lower and it doesn't give health recovery, but it's a very small difference and overall it doesn't matter which one you use. For our potions, we are using Essence of Weapon Power, which grants us Major Brutality, Major Savagery, Major Endurance, and restores some stamina immediately. We'll be using these for those longer and tougher fights. We can grab these at a guild vendor or make them at an alchemy station. If you haven't got any on you at the time, you can always pop an Essence of Stamina instead. They will give us Major Endurance and restore some stamina immediately. They might not be as useful as weapon power potions, but they are better than nothing, and they do drop from almost every mob, so your bag will probably be full of them. Moving on to the gear now, we have the option to use a Maelstrom bow and pale order ring on this build. They aren't necessary by any means, and we have options in their stead, which we'll go over first. We are using 7 medium armor pieces on this build, all with the Divine's trait and a stamina enchant. For the jewellery, we're using the Bloodthirsty trait and weapon damage enchants, and for our weapons, we're using two-handed mace for our front bar with a precise trait and a poison enchant, and for our back bar, we're taking a bow with the infused trait and a weapon damage enchant. Moving on to the sets themselves, starting with the body pieces, which are the chest, waist, hands, legs and feet. Our first choice is a trial set, and it's the Arms of Reliquant set. This set is gotten from Cloud Rest, and on veteran difficulty, you can get a perfected version which adds extra stamina to the set. It's a minor increase compared to the unperfected version, so it doesn't matter what version you use. The set itself gives us critical chance, minor slayer at all times, and our light and heavy attacks add a stacking damage over time effect to our targets that lasts for 5 seconds and stacks up to 10 times. If you haven't stepped into a trial or want to use something else, you can use the Aegis Caller set, which is gotten from the DLC dungeon Unhallowed Grave. This set adds weapon and spell damage, stamina recovery, and when you do critical damage with a martial melee attack, you'll summon a lesser Aegis for 11 seconds, which will deal bleed damage every 1 second, and this effect can occur once every 12 seconds. If you're looking for a little more healing, you could also use the Briarheart set, which is gotten from Hrothgar Overland content, such as dells, world bosses and public dungeons. You can also pick it up at a guild vendor if you prefer to pay money rather than searching for it. Briarheart comes with critical chance and maximum stamina, and when you deal critical damage, your weapon and spell damage increases for 10 seconds, and while the effect is active, you'll heal when you do critical damage. This effect can occur once every 15 seconds. For our weapons and jewellery, we are going with the Pillar of Nirn set, which is gotten from the DLC dungeon Valkyrie Hold, which gives us max stamina, critical chance, and weapon and spell damage. And when you deal damage, you'll deal bleed damage to the target enemy and enemies near the target, causing them to take bleed damage for 10 seconds. This effect can occur every 10 seconds. For our monster sets, for our helm and shoulder slots, we have 2 choices. First, we can use the Bloodspawn set. The helm can be gotten from Spindle Clutch 2 on Veteran, and the shoulders from the Undaunted vendors. This set adds stamina recovery, and when we take damage, we have a chance to gain extra ultimate and to increase our resistances by 3601 for 5 seconds. Another choice is the Slimecraw set from Wayrest Sewers 1. Again, the helm from veteran difficulty and the shoulders from the Undaunted vendor. Slimecraw adds critical chance, and it also gives us minor berserk at all times. Now for the Ring of the Pale Order, which is gotten from the Antiquity system. When using this, we will heal for 20% of all the damage we do. We can't be healed by anyone but ourselves, and the healing we do decreases when we're in groups. The ring will take up a ring slot obviously, so we'll need to wear our jewellery set on either our shoulder or helm. The slot doesn't matter. We will lose our 2-set bonus from our monster set, but the Pale Order ring makes up for it. You can stick with Bloodspawn or Slimecraw for the 1-piece bonus, or you could also use the Magma Incarnate set. The head is found in the Dreadseller DLC dungeon on Veteran, and the shoulder from an Undaunted vendor. Magma Incarnate's first set bonus will give us Magicka and Stamina recovery. Lastly is the Maelstrom bow, which is gotten from Maelstrom Arena, and we'll be using this on our back bar. There's a perfected version from Veteran difficulty which adds extra critical chance. It doesn't matter which versions we're using, as we are more interested in the base effect, which increases the damage volley deals per tick, and this damage increases further with each tick. That covers the gear, and now it's time for the skills, starting with the front bar. First skill up is Stampede, morphed from Critical Charge, which is found in the two-handed skill line. You'll charge an enemy and deal physical damage to them and nearby enemies. This is always a critical strike. You'll also leave an AoE under their feet for 15 seconds that deals physical damage. Next is Carve, which is morphed from Cleave, which is found in the two-handed skill line. You'll deal bleed damage to enemies in front of you and cause them to bleed for 12 seconds. Hitting an enemy again will increase the duration up to 32 seconds. This also gives us a damage shield that lasts for 6 seconds. Our next skill is Venomous Claw, which is morphed from Searing Strike and found in the Ardent Flame skill line. This will deal poison damage to an enemy in melee range and will cause the enemy to take poison damage for 24 seconds. The damage from this dot increases over time, so don't spam this attack. Next is Barb Trap, morphed from Trap Beast, and can be found in the Fighters Guild skill line. The trap deals bleed damage and causes the enemy to bleed for 20 seconds and grants us minor force. The damage has a higher chance of causing the hemorrhaging status effect. Enemies who trigger the trap can be immobilized for 2 seconds. Next is Cauterize, morphed from Inferno and found in the Ardent Flame skill line. This will cause us to fire fireballs at ourselves over 15 seconds, causing us to heal, and while slotted will grant us Major Prophecy and Savagery. For the ultimate on the front bar, we are using Flawless Dawnbreaker, morphed from Dawnbreaker and found in the Fighters Guild skill line. You will deal physical damage to enemies in front of you and additional physical damage over 6 seconds, and after activating this skill, we're going to increase our weapon and spell damage by 300 for 20 seconds. Next we'll move on to the back bar skills. First up is Endless Hail, morphed from Volley and found in the Bow skill line. This will rain arrows down, dealing physical damage to enemies in the target area every second for 13 seconds, and if you're using the Maelstrom bow, the damage will increase over the duration. On to Noxious Breath next, which is morphed from Fiery Breath and can be found in the Ardent Flame skill line. This will deal poison damage to enemies within range, and they will continue to take poison damage for 24 seconds, and it will also apply Major Breach to the enemy's hit. We are also using Echoing Vigor, morphed from Vigor, which is found in the Assault skill line. This will heal us over 16 seconds. We are also using Consuming Trap, morphed from Soul Trap and found in the Soul skill line. This deals magic damage for 20 seconds, and if the affected enemy dies, it will fill an empty soul gem and restore magicka, stamina and health to you. We're also using Volatile Armor, morphed from Spiked Armor and found in the Draconic Power skill line. We'll spray spikes around us, causing enemies to take magic damage for 20 seconds, giving us Major Resolve, and when enemies attack us from melee range, we'll return some of the damage back to that enemy. The ultimate on the back bar is Standard of Might. This is morphed from Dragonknight Standard and is found in the Ardent Flame skill line. This will place a flag in front of you and will deal flame damage for 20 seconds to any enemy standing within range of it. It will also apply Major Maim, and if you or your ally stand near the flag, you'll take 15% less damage and also deal 15% more damage. An ally near the standard can also activate the Shackle synergy, dealing flame damage to enemies and immobilizing them for 5 seconds. And that covers the skills, so let's quickly go over the passives, starting with our class passives. First up is the Ardent Flame skill line. In here we want to take Combustion, Warmth, Searing Heat and World in Ruin, so we're grabbing everything in the Ardent Flame skill line. In the Dragonic skill line we'll be taking Iron Skin, Burning Heart, Elder Dragon and Scaled Armor, so we'll be taking everything in here as well. And in the Earth and Heart skill line we only want Battle Roar and Helping Hands, because we're not using any other Earth and Heart abilities, so the other passives aren't going to take any effect or be useful to us at all. Next is the two-handed skill line. Again, we'll take everything. This includes Forceful, Balanced Blade, Follow Up and Battle Rush. We are using a bow, so we want everything the bow skill line as well. So we want to take Long Shots, Accuracy, Ranger, Hawkeye and Hasty Retreat. We are wearing full medium armor, so we'll take everything in the medium armor skill line too, which are Dexterity, Windwalker, Improved Sneak, Agility and Athletics. Next up is the guild passives, starting with the Fighters Guild. In here we'll be taking Intimidating Presence, Slayer, Banish the Wicked and Skilled Tracker. And next up is the Undaunted passives, and in here we'll also be taking Undaunted Command and Undaunted Metal. This next passive is an optional passive and can be found in the Assault skill line, and it's Continuous Attack. We only need 1 point in this to get Major Gallop. If we put a second point in, you won't get anything in return unless you plan on doing PvP or Cyrodiil. Moving on to the racial passives, these are very specific to your race, so no matter what, grab everything, but do read over them so you understand them, because every race's passives are different and have different effects, so keep an eye on what you're choosing, but do take everything. And lastly, one more optional passive, which I would class as necessary, and it's medicinal use, which is found in the alchemy skill line. This causes our potions to last much longer and makes potions outlast their cooldown, so you can always have a potion active. And that covers the passes. And now onto the champion point slotables, beginning in the warfare tree. In here, we want to take wrathful strikes to increase weapon and spell damage, fighting finesse to increase our critical damage and critical healing, deadly aim to increase our damage done with single target attacks, and thaumaturge to increase our damage done with damage over time effects. In the fitness skill line, we're going to be taking boundless vitality to increase our health, fortify to increase our armor, rejuvenation for extra sustain, and we're also going to be taking bloody renewal to add to our sustain by getting stamina back when we kill enemies. And into the craft skill line, really doesn't matter what you take in here because everything's very specific and situational. But for solo content, I myself like to take treasure hunter to increase the quality of items I find in treasure chests. There's also rationeer to increase the duration of our foods, liquid efficiency, just so there's a small chance not to consume a potion when we use it, and Steed's Blessing, just to increase our out-of-combat movement speed for when we're trying to get around. And that's everything for the champion point slotables. And that also covers the Scalebreaker build. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope this build was helpful or gave you some ideas for your own builds. And if it did, why not comment below and let me know how you got on with it, or what ideas it gave you even. And while you're down there, why not hit like or subscribe? I will make it worth your time, don't you worry. If you are also craving some more MMO content, you can catch me over at twitch.tv/dyinglegacy, where we play MMOs and things. You know, like ESO. And with all that out of the way, thanks again, guys. You've been absolutely fantastic. I've been Dying Legacy, and until next time, stay awesome.